Hi, everybody. Welcome to the It Hurts to Mom podcast. I'm Lauren Rose, and today we're talking to Kim Graybill. Kim is known as the Chronic Health Warrior. Her mission is to empower others on their health and wellness journey by igniting the fire within to lead vibrant, fulfilling lives and lasting health transformations. She has a remarkable journey of overcoming 36 years of health challenges, and she achieved being symptom and medication free for over 5 years. She provides support through her transformative 5 Steps to Vibrant Lifestyle program. Welcome, Kim. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So just tell us about yourself and like your experiences with chronic illness.
It all started for me when I was young. I couldn't breathe when I was a baby, and it grew into skin problems that was on most of my body, and I worked through many different treatments and plans, and it seemed a lot of them had failed growing up. I had to wear a lot of long sleeve shirts during the summertime, and beach became a huge embarrassment for me. I didn't want to wear a bathing suit. I didn't want to go to the beach. I developed the hate for being around the beach when I was little, and it grew into severe joint issues when I was about in 5th grade, where much of the time I was on crutches for both my 5th and 6th grade year because the swelling just was so unbearable. I had to get it drained multiple times because I kept getting fluid on the knee. And then it grew into more food sensitivities where I started having a lot of issues with different foods I was eating. I couldn't eat certain foods, so I started to feel nervous eating around in a public setting because I would get really sick with food, like I would have stomach cramps, and it became a problem whenever I ate. And then about high school time frame, I ended up getting into a severe car accident. It caused a lesion on my brain and on the left frontal lobe, and it started to develop more inflammation in my brain that over time it grew to over 12 lesions. The one on my left frontal lobe where I had the car accident ended up being half dollar size, and it started to get more severe that I was having slurring words, droop face, and it became worse when I ended up going hiking and I got bit, and that caused flu-like symptoms, and I got even more extreme fatigue. I had horrible mobility issues. I couldn't walk more than 5 minutes. I had a hard time with more than a 5 minute conversation because I would just doze off and I wouldn't even realize that when I came to that I was in the middle of a conversation. So I continued to have those challenges, but the real struggle became when I had my third child. He ended up having a lot of issues as well. He had issues with food impactions. Had issues with many allergies that he ended up getting down to only being able to tolerate corn, which I found out later on was very inflammatory. So it caused him to even get more symptoms where he had the belly cramps, many ER visits. We couldn't figure out what was going on with him. And the trips to ER happened multiple times because he got food caught in his throat where he couldn't breathe, and it was a very scared situation. So me having to fight through my issues with health challenges, the extreme fatigue I was having, the joint problems and everything developed into the fact that I was trying to help my child, which became more challenging because when you go through your own health challenges and then you're also watching your child go through those same challenges, it becomes the point where you get into the mindset of you don't see an end of this, and you go to multiple doctors, you go through multiple treatments, and nothing seems to work. So your mindset becomes like, is this how life is going to be the rest of my life with this and everything? So when my sister-in-law had passed, She was only 34. She passed due to some health challenges as well. It became a turning point, kind of, that I had 3 young kids. I didn't want my kids to go through what my nephew was going through, because losing a mom so young, my kids losing their aunt and seeing their mom struggling with health challenges, as well as seeing their brother going through scary situations as well, I became determined. I was determined I was going to find a way that would help my family get more healthy. So I spoke to many doctors. I went to many nutritionists and neuropaths and lots of different people to try to figure out what I needed to do to get my family well again. So after 36 years, my son, 4.5, he was able to no longer have any allergies. He does not have EpiPen no more. He doesn't have any anaphylaxis. He doesn't have any food sensitivities, though we stay away from certain foods because they're damaging and toxic. I no longer have any extreme fatigue. I no longer have any issues with mobility. I don't have any issues with the extreme fatigue or anything. We've been symptom-free, med-free now for over 5 years.
And how in the world did you manage that with all the problems with you and with your son? Like, what did you do?
I developed a 5-step program of key steps that I found most helpful. Diet, anti-inflammatory diet, I found to be most important, because that gets rid of a lot of the toxic food, corn and gluten, sugar, hydrogenated oils, and then like fake sugar and a lot of those different foods that are very toxic. And then supplements and nutritional dense foods I found super important. My vitamin D was dangerously low. It was below 10. And I found out what my optimal level was. So I made sure I got my vitamin D back to where it was, getting a lot of my vitamins and nutrients through food and diet. So I incorporated a lot of like cabbage and like spinach and a lot of those different nutritional dense foods so that my body would get the vitamins and nutrients it needed. Limiting stress and quality sleep is super important, because sleep is where our body naturally repairs and restores. So if we're not getting the deep level of sleep that we're needed, our body's not able to repair and restore as it should. Same with limiting stress. Stress is so damaging. Even my son that was only 1 year old, 2 year old, 3, when he grew up through his health challenges, he had a lot of stress as well, because subconsciously and unconsciously, your body trying to get rid of that, deal with what that illness is causing, will cause stress in you. So he was going through it. He couldn't eat foods like he could. And then movement and exercise I found very important as well. Even though I couldn't walk more than 5 minutes, I found a way to incorporate it. So I walked 5 minutes many times a day. And as I got better eating the foods and being able to have more foods and everything, it actually improved, where I was able to do less times a day for longer periods. And I just gradually worked in a walking routine for the first 3 months. And then I was able to get an exercise and start doing workouts again. And I was able to be more active, or I could do things with my kids again, which I had missed a lot, because they saw mom a lot of times just laying down or sitting down, because I just couldn't function. I couldn't walk like I should. And then the last is phototherapy. That helped a lot as well.
What is phototherapy?
Phototherapy is taking your body's natural heat and our ultraviolet light and reflecting it back in our body to help send signals, kind of in a way that acupuncture does with different pinpoints on your body. It will actually send light and signals to your brain that will pinpoint different parts of your body.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that. So have you been to any doctors since you started all these things and became, med and symptom free, or your son has? And I'm curious, like, what do they say about all these things you're doing?
For the first 2 years, I was going to one because they were for the first year, the 11 lesions had improved, and the largest one I had that was half dollar size had gone down to dime size. So they were just monitoring them. And then after about a year and a half was when the last one didn't show anymore. So they told me that there wasn't really anything they could do for me, that if the symptoms come back, to call them and set up an appointment, and the symptoms have not come back since.
Wow. So you think all these things that you're doing actually cured you of your lesions? I mean, I don't know what else it would be.
The lesions are gone. I when they brought the monitor up, they saw how they were before, when they first saw me, and after, and they couldn't believe what they saw.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, because doctors generally aren't big proponents of like the natural, do it yourself kind of thing. They always want you on medication, they want to do procedures, things like that. So I
It
can imagine how shocked they were.
it took me a while to find a one that she wasn't happy with the decision I was making, but I told her that I was going to do it either way, that this was the route that I felt was best for me. And she said that she would do it with me and monitor. She wanted me to do an MRI every 6 months while I was doing it. So I had two, and she saw that they were improving and getting better. So she was the one that told me that what I'm doing has been working for me and I'm doing well. I went from many symptoms to no symptoms. So keep up what you're doing. And
What about your son? What have his doctors said?
he has been just going to the normal primary now every year, physicals, and he's still doing well. There's no issues, no symptoms. So until they said, unless his symptoms come back, the specialty doctors are not necessary anymore.
That's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So good job. So what are some of like the big challenges you have had when you had the symptoms in parenting? I know like the fatigue is a big one. I've got that problem too. Like, and you've got three kids. I've only got one. And she's very needy and needs mama all the time. But like I can't imagine having three kids and having fatigue and health issues. Like what were some of your biggest challenges?
It was challenging. Mom guilt was definitely there, not being able to do the things I wanted to with my kids. But the extreme big T was one of the worst, not being able to walk, or when I went out, just the comments from other people thinking I was drunk because I was off balance when I walked, or I had a hard time where I had to stop, and grocery shopping became challenging. Every day-to-day activity became challenging, but you had to go grocery shopping. You have to get up and feed to make sure your kids are well. So it was something that every day I just pushed through. I was determined to do my best for my kids with what I could. And the slurring words, I remember when I ended up getting the flu-like symptoms, when I had gotten bit by the tick before I started my journey, I ended up having to bring my son down to Boston because he had to have a specialty scope to check his esophagus and everything, to make sure how everything was doing, check his cell count and everything, because of the food impactions and everything. And I remember I had to have someone drive me down. I felt horrible asking someone to do this, and I remember being sick all the way down, and they had to stop so much because I was getting sick all the way down to Boston. And it was this challenge, having to go in the car, bring him to the doctors, when I was having issues walking because my knee was swell. I was having issues with the flu-like symptoms because of the being bit, and it it was a huge challenge, but it was something that had to be done. So as a parent, you just force yourself to go through your own symptoms, and you tend to not take as much care for yourself because you want to make sure your kids get all their needs met and that they're healthy and that they thrive.
Right. How does it feel now, like knowing that you've done all these great things for yourself and for your son, and like how's your parenting now?
I feel very grateful that I'm able to do the things that I can with my kids, being able to go out Christmas shopping, being able to go to the grocery store without having to stop or having issues walking and fumbling, trying to get things to the car and inside, and then being so tired that you can't play games and go watch their basketball games or go to their sporting events or go on a hike or camping or things that I've always enjoyed doing with my own parents growing up.
Yeah, I've got the some of the same problems just with chronic pain. There's so much I can't do, and some days like I push myself, like I want to go on field trips with her.
Mhm.
So I push myself, take lots of medication and just push to do it, and then I suffer for the next several days.
Mhm.
And but it's like I there's so many things I can't do with her. I can't be room mom. I can't volunteer at her school hardly ever. Um, Things like that. Sometimes I can't even play with her. I feel like sometimes I have to make up for it by pushing myself and doing certain things, you know?
Yeah, it becomes a challenge sometimes as a parent.
So like what's maybe one of the biggest pieces of advice that you'd have for somebody with chronic illness or chronic pain?
To not give up, have a positive mindset where that there is things that can be done to get well, to never give up. That's my biggest advice, because your kids need and
Mm.
you deserve to be able to live a vibrant, healthy life, and that's why I want to help others do.
So where can we find out more about you and about what you do helping other people?
I do have a free ebook, 5 Steps to Vibrant Lifestyle. It's at the number 5, in 5steps dot simplywellrenewal.com.
And this will go through some of those things that you were talking about earlier, the
Yes,
movement
it'll
and
go
the
through the 5 steps that I took to help myself and my son.
cool. Well, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
And congratulations on just everything that you've been able to accomplish. That's just really inspiring.
Thank you very, very much.
Make sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any health, parenting, or life advice. For my freebie 30 ways to relieve pain without taking a pill, go to at hurtstomom.com/tips. If you have comments, suggestions, or want to be on this podcast, email me at ithurtstomom@gmail.com. I wish everybody a blessed and pain-free day.